this? Okay, can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can see your screen.
I can't even see the chat. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna share. I'm gonna start from here. Don't need fire exits. Okay. I'm here on WhatsApp, by the way. By Jagdish. If anything doesn't work as it's meant to work, just let me know on WhatsApp, and I'll just stay online there. Because I won't be able to see my chat while I'm presenting here. So, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Apologies for starting a bit late. Today what we're going to cover is that we're going to go into the Sikh Enlightenment course. My name is Raman Singh, and I should also have Bhai Singh here on this with me in the call. And what I'm going to do is that we're going to go into the Sikh Enlightenment course. This is a course created by Shared Charity by myself and by Singh from Coventry. This course we have delivered in many countries in Europe and multiple cities within the UK. I'm just going to start with a quick intro, a couple of minutes. I know we're already running late, and then we can dive into the course. But the same thing, are you here? Okay, I can't hear anyone. I don't know what is it. Okay, I will just introduce myself. So as I said, my name is Raman Singh. I've been with Shared Charity for quite some time now. It's been about 8 to 9 years now, and I used to work with Shared Charity on different projects. My background is that I was a lecturer. I used to develop different courses for automotive companies, many automotive brands such as Jaguar Land Rover, Aston Martin, and I specialized in delivering technical courses to these companies. From background, professionally, I'm an aerospace engineer, but then I started working in automotive, and then recently I've been working within an engineering scientific software company, working with global clients as an account manager. So that's my professional background. Normally in our course, obviously we have fire exits, etc. Obviously shouldn't have that here because obviously we're doing it online. And we normally have a full routine of timetable. I'm going to skip through all of this. But I just want to go into, okay, why did we create this Enlightenment course? A lot of you guys may not have heard of this before, but it is an 8-hour whole one-day course. Obviously, we cannot cover that within 40 minutes, but the idea here was to just cover at least the first introductory topic, which is the first section of this course, and also have a bit of a think on some very important things in Sikhi. So the reason why I created this course is because we wanted to give a constructive message out to the Sangat, where people can learn in a very in a precise set of topics about Sikhi, and get an idea about and get a deep dive into some very important concepts of Sikhi, which we sometimes think that Sikhi is just about the outwardly things like, okay, what dastar I wear or what ban I wear, etc., etc. But a lot of times the most important topics of Sikhi, which is all about the inside, about those get ignored, and we don't really get much attention on those when we go to Gurdwara. So we really wanted to cover some of those topics and pile a sort of a route to get that deep dive into Sikhi. And what we did is that we put together about 8 different sections. So as I said, it's like a road. It's not a road to enlightenment, by the way. It's not that if you go through our course and in 8 sections in 8 hours you get enlightened. No, that's not what the point is. The point is to give you a framework, so that when you leave from that 8-hour course, you get a framework of how can you analyze yourself, and we call it as an 8-point plan, to live a purposeful life. And that's the essence. I think we don't really think about some of these very important concepts. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is being human. So before we go into that, so normally we have a plan. So within that 8 hours we get the attendees to create a plan with the top priorities and notes from each section. So first, I'm just going to spend about 1 minute on this, on you guys thinking before we start this course. So what we normally do is that imagine that behind that door is Guruji standing, and he's asking you, who are you and what are you striving for? We want you to think what those answers would be. So I'm only going to spend about 60 seconds on this. So some of the things to consider, who are you? So a lot of times when someone asks you, okay, who are you? The first thing I might say, oh, I'm an engineer, as I've just said, or I'm a doctor, I don't know, I'm a musician, whoever. But my name is Raman Singh. These are the first things that come into our mind. But imagine if we are in front of Guruji and Guruji is asking us, who are you and what are you striving for? What would our answers be? So, and if our answer is let's not give an answer that you think that Guruji may want to hear, but what are we actually practicing in our life? Does that reflect what our answer would be to Guruji to these 2 questions? So let's spend about 60 seconds on this, and then I'm going to move on. Okay, so that's about 60 seconds. Just keep the answer to yourself. You don't need to type anywhere in the chat or anything, but we're going to come back to it at the end of the session. So we designed the whole 8-hour course on this one Shabad. I would like to share that. The Shabad is Eko Sadgur Jagta, Hor Jag Suta, Moh Pyas, Sadgur Sevan Jagan Se, Jo Rate Sach Naam Guntas. So in this Shabad, what Guruji is saying is that it's only the Guru who is awake. Eko Satgur Jagta, the only one Satgur. Jagta means awake. Hor Jag Suta Moh Pyas. Guruji is saying that the rest of the world is sleep. Now, we got to think what Guruji is saying here. What Guruji is saying is that the whole world is sleep, but they are sutta in two main things, which are, the first one is moho, which is attachment, and pyas, which is desire. When we say, for example, you can the literal meaning of pyas would be thirst, but here the thirst of man is desire. So what Guruji is saying is that there's only the Guru, the true Guru, who's awake, and everyone else is asleep. Now we got to think, Guruji, we are all awake, obviously, but Guruji is saying that we are asleep specifically in those 2 things, moh and pyas. So we're going to dive into these 2 things. And Guruji says, Sadgur Sevan Jagan Se Jorate Sach Naam Guntas. Then the ones who are ratte, or who are colored in or imbued in the true Naam, are the ones who are awakened. Manmukh andna chetani, janam mar hoye binas. Guruji then says that the manmukh, the one who doesn't listen to the Guru, is andha. Andna chetani. Andha means he is blind. Um, and janam mar hoye binas. Now again, this is not worldly. We're not talking about worldly blindness. We're talking about our inner blindness that Guruji is mentioning here. And it relates to the moh and pyas, the attachment and desire, which Guruji is talking about in the Shabad. And Guruji finally says that Nana Gurmukhtini Naam Te Aya, Jinko Tor Purab Likhyas. But the ones who awaken are the ones who jap Naam, Jinko Toro Purab Likhyas, the one who are preordained by the Guru, pre-written by the Guru. So, but what we're going to do, we're going to first concentrate on the first two lines, or the first tukka of Guruji, where in this Shabad Guruji is saying the attachments and desires. So from this whole Shabad, as I said, we have designed this 8-hour course. This whole 8-hour course revolves around this Shabad and just trying to unravel the Shabad. So first thing is attached to the things that we learned from the Shabad is that Guruji is saying that there's attachments and desires, which we need to look into. How are these developed? What is the role of these attachments and desires in our life? Then in the Shabad, Guruji is also explaining that Sadguru is awake, and you can awaken through Naam. So sorry, let me just minimize this. And you can awaken through Naam. So Guruji is giving us indication on that as well. So first thing, let's look at being human, and let's try and unravel this thing about attachment and desire, what these are, how they're developed, and what can be done to overcome them. As I said, I'll probably only be able to cover the first topic, which is actually about 1 hour 15 minutes usually in the 8-hour day. But we're going to try and squeeze this in the leftover 20-25 minutes that we have. So the human, this topic is split into 3 sections: body and senses, what makes us special. I'm going to go into that. So first thing, very basic concepts of Sikhi. In Sikhi, believes into having 10 doors, or we say das dwar. The first one, the 7 ones are on the top section of our body, and the 2 on the bottom sections of our body. So there's 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 tongue. We have reproduction and waste, and then we have dasam dwar. All of these dwars, or the doors, the reason why they're called doors is because we feed information into our man through these doors. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on it because you probably know this anyways, but obviously there is a reason behind it. There's a purpose for each of these doors. Eyes are there to see, ears are there to hear, nostrils, tongue, etc., etc., there to taste and smell, and reproduction and waste. Same with Dasam Dwar is there to connect to Waheguru through the true Guru. Now these 10 doors are then controlled. You can say, like, for example, you have a camera on a car, then that is controlled by a software that manages those cameras, those sensors on your car. Same way, you can say that this is the hardware, but there's a software behind it, which are the 5 senses controlling it. Like in Gurbani, Guruji says, Nanu Naktu Nanu Naktu Saravnu Raspat Indri Ke Hana Manna. Guruji says that these are the 5 senses jade vigad gaya. They don't listen to me anymore. Like Nanu, my Akhan, they don't listen to me anymore. Naktu, my nak, my smell. Nanu Naktu Sravnu Raspat Indri Ke Hana Manna. Sarvu means ears. Raspat, tongue, taste. It's not in my control. Indri Ke Hana Manna. Indri means feeling something. So these are the 5 senses in essence, and then these 5 senses are the ones that control our 10 doors. So for example, and if these if these 5 senses are not in our control, or are being misused, in other terms, what Guruji says is that we then develop these desires and attachments. So for example, if I sometimes, for example, I've got a car, my neighbor's got a new car now, which is a lot better than mine, and then all of a sudden there's a desire inside me that takes birth, and that desire is to buy that car, is to strive for that object, the materialistic object. And that's because I've seen it now. I've heard it. Same way you have you get desires and attachments as well through hearing things, through tasting things. You can get attached to a particular taste just because that taste is not in my control. Same way smell, and it's not just in Sikhi terms, but even in practically, if you look at how our world is designed these days, everything, these multinational companies they design their marketing around these five senses. So hence why what you would see is that you in your car, you turn your audio, there's obviously advertisements. You go into on the TV, there's advertisements. All of those are just trying to tick these senses that you have. And if they can get to these senses in the right way, the desires and attachments will kick in. And hence why these industries are booming, because all they were trying to do is to tickle your senses. I'm not sure if you're going to India. I'm actually from India, from Mumbai. I was born in Mumbai. If you go to India, you must have seen that where they cook, there's a massive fan there which is just blowing the air onto the people who are going to pass by in the market, and just when they smell it, people just get drawn to that food, even though they're not hungry. They just feel hungry all of a sudden just because they've smelt it. So there's desires that get developed inside us by these five senses. And if you look around, if you just do a very quick research, you're going to see that these industries are worth trillions of dollars, and they're just trying to instigate your senses. That's how they make money. That's how these industries are going to make money. Entertainment industry, cosmetic industry is just about how you look. Food industry is obviously the taste, restaurant industry, etc., etc. If you go about 100, probably about 90 to 100 years back, many of these didn't even exist. But they keep getting stronger. And this type of man, which is this type of senses, which are then, if they're getting fed in by the Panjvikar, what we talk about, is Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Hankar. So the five senses, if they are being fed in by Kam, by Krodh, if my eyes only want to see Kam, my ears only want to hear Nindya of others, then these five senses are basically sleep. And this is what Guruji says, Asutta Man. A description of Asutta Man is where the senses, your nan have become nenu, your nak has become naktu. That's what Guruji is using these type of terminologies in that Shabad. Your Sravan, where Guruji's respectful term for your ears is Sravan, but Guruji is using the Sravanu. That means it bigad gaya. That means they are under these five Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Hankar. These are called the Avguna, you can say. But then you can also awaken yourself. This is a sleep state. From there, a Gurse can become awakened by changing the Avguns into Guns, by developing Guna, which can be developed by coming to Sangat, by doing Taram, by doing Naam. And there's many ways of developing these gunas or qualities within your mind or within your man. And those are Satsanto, Dharam. There's many other gun which we normally talk about in this course, but these are the five supreme ones which are normally being accepted by many religions, not just Sikhi. So we all know that we got attachments and desires, and they are getting stronger day by day, and we also know that the human body is a pinnacle of creation and has everything that we need. So these eyes, we cannot just, so there are religions out there who then say that because my tongue is not in my control, you should stop talking. So they spend their whole life with, not speaking a word. There are religions out there that say that practicing being blind is a way of achieving God, because your eyes are not in a control, so just don't see anything. But that's not what Guruji says. Guruji says that these eyes have been given to you for a purpose. Your kan have been given to you, your ears have been given to you for a purpose. Same way your tongue has been given to you for a purpose. So stop using them is not the solution. Guruji says that this body is a pinnacle of creation, or everything that you have in here is for you to meet God. In Anand Sahib, we know this, in the Gursikh read Anand Sahib, you know, Guruji says that in netro mere har tum mein jyotri har bin na dekho koi, har bin na dekho koi. Guruji is saying that the eyes is there to see Vaheguru. Same way your ears are to listen to Bani, your tongue is to jap naam. But stop using them is not the solution. The solution is to align them, realign them to what Guruji is saying. Um, and this body is very special. This janam, this body is the only body where you can meet Vaheguru according to Sikhi. And in this body, if this body is perfect, everything that we have on this body is perfect, then what makes us special? Let's try and dive into that. So so this month that we talk about, you have animals on the, and we have humans. For any life to take birth on this planet, you need a body, you need a soul, and you need a mind. Just like in humans, we have soul, we have body, and we have mind. Um, the only difference between other species and humans is that our mind is supreme. But what makes this supreme are these four sections of the human mind that is very important to understand. So I'm diving a bit deep into the attachment and desire concept. And as we do that, we need to understand how our mind works first, and how are these desires developed, how are these attachments developed. But to do that, we need to understand what our mind is. So our mind, obviously we have in our mind, a human mind is made of four sections, you can say: Man, Buddh, Chit, and Ahang. In Gurbani, there have been many references where Guruji has individually spoken about these in detail. Like about Chit, in this cover we do a Chit exercise as well on how you can use this element of your human mind, which is the Chit element. And then you have Bodh and Yuman. So Man are your thoughts, the thoughts that come in our mind. Like I'm sitting here, I might be thinking something else while I'm talking to you. Then your Bodh is, you can say, your wisdom or your knowledge. This tells you, okay, what's right and what's wrong. Then you have your Chit or memory. So Chit is also used as emotions, or your memory, or you can say your temporary memory that you can use in a very beautiful way to jap naam as well. And then the final one, which binds all of this together, is in a way is our ahang, which is the most strongest one, you can say. So I'm going to rephrase it, not binary, but this is the strongest one, ahang, which is pride, which is me. So there's two things: there's hankar and ahang. These are two separate things, by the way. Ahankar is that I'm better than someone else. That's ahankar. Like, okay, I am better than this person. B Singh. A Singh is better than B Singh, and B Singh thinks I'm better than A Singh. So that's what is always relative to someone else, external. But then there's ahang within ourselves as well. We're like, my thoughts are mine. That is ahang. So inside myself, I'm thinking I'm the best. Anything that comes in my mind is me. If I do, then what happens is that our Sikhi becomes manmukhi as well, in a way, because it's wrapped by ahang. So this mind, our mind commits, in our mind, these desires and attachments get formed in a way, which then take over our human senses, and then makes us do wrong things, which may be not the ones that Guruji is guiding us to do, or not the right ones to meet with Vaheguru. But this consequences, like if my mind thinks about something, there's consequences to that as well. So there's consequences in this life, and there's consequences in the afterlife. So in whatever we do with our in this life, obviously this 8.4 life forms that we know. So when we do actions here, um, we have to bear the consequences of those. Same way, the actions which we don't get consequences for in this life, we may get consequences. We may have to face the consequences of those in the next life. So in the afterlife, we say. So in Sikhi believes in the soul traveling through 8.4 million life forms, and we're accountable to those actions. But I'm not going to dive too much into that. But um, so so basically, what we have covered so far is that we have this body which has 10 doors. Um, yes, the doors are not aligned to what Guruji is asking us to do, or not aligned in a manner that we can meet Vaheguru. We need to realign them. The problem is that they are engrossed in attachment and desire. Now, but I believe that this body is special, is this janam that Guruji is given to me. Guruji says is Ratan Janam, is very special. So, but what am I doing with this special, precious life? I know that my mind, my human mind that I have, is very supreme, is capable of doing many things. With, as I said, in Chit, you can do 24-hour Simran using a Chit. Guruji gives us tells us what those techniques are. And we're going to talk about that in other sections when if we ever get time again. But in Chit, Guruji gives us ways to jap naam. Same with our board with other things. We can use this human mind, which is very very special. But what are we doing with this body and which has got this supreme mind? We got to look at our daily routine. Our daily routine is, if you look at animals, it's not very different to animals. Eat, sleep, work, look after your family. Animals do the pretty much the same thing. That's why Guruji Sukhmani Sahib says that Kartut pasu ki manas jaat log pachara kare jit din raat. Guruji saying that you you got a human body, but your actions are that of an animal, of a pasu. So Guruji then tells us what a typical life form is that what's happening in this life. So in this life, Guruji splits our life into 10 stages, and makes us aware and tells us what can we do in these stages to realign our Sikhi. So just let's try and understand those 10 stages. So first stage is the first two stages is when you're born. The first thing that you get attached to is the milk. A baby gets attached to the mother's milk. Then the second one is that they get attached to their parents. And this is from Ashavuddin Guruji saying, "Pehle pyar laga tha dudh jab bai maap ki sudh, mai baap ki sudh." And then in there, Guruji then explains all the 10 stages. So between 0 to 12, this has come from Kabirji Shabad, where Kabirji splitting it into ages as well. Is that first four peher? In the first one, it's milk. The second one, you get attached to your parents. Then you get attached to your brothers and sisters. Then when you become teenager, by about the fourth stage of life, you get attached to playing. Now, obviously, video games, PlayStation, all sorts of things, right, that we have today. But the desire and attachment is about playing, going out with my friends. This is the teenager bit. Then the fifth and the sixth stage is eating and drinking. Now Guruji says ke ਹੁਣ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਖਾਣ ਪੀਣ ਦੀ ਧਾਤ ਲੱਗੀ ਆ. Then shave calm na pucha jaat. Now your attachment and desires are eating and drinking and lust. So towards the age of, you can say 18 to 20, 21, when you become adult, that's when lust becomes really strong. Hence why when you go coming to UK, there's obviously everyone goes to universities around about that age, and that's where the most prachar is needed, because it's a very difficult age. You're very sensitive to what route you're going to take at that time. So eating and drinking, lust, and then Guruji says around about nowadays the marriage life, we get married by about 30. I got married when I was 22, 21. But nowadays it's about 30, to be honest. 29, 30. The last 4 marriages I've attended, I'm pretty sure they were in that range. But then from that time, now you're married, now you have house, now you have life, now you have responsibilities. Now your attachments and desires are just to try and fulfill your responsibilities for survival mechanisms, for house and family, going out, working, etc., etc. Then this age, which is seventh and eighth stage, towards the eighth stage, Guruji says, okay, hon krodh aa gaya hai in your life. Now, by the time you get old, towards 60s, Guruji says now you get angry very quickly or you're short-tempered. And then the ninth and the 10th stage, now Guruji says that is death and regret. Old age, white hair, Guruji says now is all you have is regret. Why? Because all your life you haven't done anything, you've just chased your attachments and desires. And this brings us back into the birth and death cycle over and over again. So I'm going to go through that. So what Guruji says is that so I'm gonna go back, sorry. So when you're in these stages, Guruji is not stopping us from doing any of those activities. Guruji is not saying that don't look after your house and family, don't look after, don't go out with your friends, don't play. But it's about the attachment and the desires. So if you think in a way that the only thing that we can relate to, I think, which can not the only thing, but the thing that we can relate to very quickly is money. Think about life as money. So imagine that if I say to you that in about in a week's time, you're in America now, but you be shifted to UK, right? Let's say you be shifted to UK. All of a sudden, everything that you've earned in your life in America, in US, forget everything, or wherever you are, whichever country you are, you go to a completely different country where the currency, the dollars that you have ain't gonna work. Only thing that's gonna work is so those dollars that you've collected won't work. You're in a different life. You're gonna start from scratch, right? And you would have no money. However, right, let's say I say in 5 years' time, your life, everything, wherever you are, is going to finish. You're going to go into some other country in 5 years' time, and then you're going to start your life from scratch. You would have no money. However, in those 5 years, right, every time you say money or every time you say dollar, right, I'm going to deposit $1 in your bank, right, in those 5 years. Now, would you be satisfied with $100,000 or $200,000 with $1,000,000? Would you? Would you just say dollar, dollar, dollar in the day and forget about night when you know you can earn dollars at night as well? I'm pretty sure every one of us would not even sleep. We won't sleep. Even eating the food would be a wasteful exercise for us. Why? Because I'm going to forget saying dollar, dollar, dollar. If I'm spending 20 minutes eating or 30 minutes eating, or I'm spending 2 hours watching a football match, or 1.5 hours watching a football match, that is thousands, hundreds and thousands of seconds. And every time I can say dollar, 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 and I can earn $100,000 in that time. Why should I spend time, waste my time sitting down and watching TV? That would just become wasteful exercise, right? And I'm pretty sure none of us will be able to sleep. We would just say dollar, 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 dollar all day and night. So, and this is what Guruji is telling us. He's saying that in this life, right, you're running after these things that you're going to leave here. Now, I've given an example of 5 years where everything's going to finish. It may be 5 years, it may be 1 year for someone, it may be 60 years for someone, right? But we are spending our energy in attachments and desires, in our chasing up our desires and the attachments and looking after our attachments. So, and what we are not doing is what we have come here for. And Guruji relates to Naam as money. Guruji says that the number of breaths that you have, utilize every single breath to jap Naam. And every time you say Vaheguru, you're going to become more and more wealthy. You're going to collect more wealth. Every time you say Vaheguru, you're going to collect wealth. Just like every time you say dollar, a dollar gets deposited in your bank. So instead of chasing your attachments and desire, why don't you spend time just repeating that naam, which is going to make you rich? And that's what Guruji says, Har tan banjo, har tan sancho. jit lagat hai nahi chor, that collect this wealth of Naam. Guruji also says, har tan tolha, har tan beri, har tan parbrang. In that, Guruji says, Lad khajana Guru Nanak ko diya. It's a khajana. Um, it's like a treasure. So you can collect as much as you want. And then that's why Guruji in the Shabad says that ko ban jaro ram ko mera tanda ladya jaye re. Guruji says that if someone's going to Vaheguru, can you take some of my baggage because I've got so much of it? And what is that baggage about? Guruji is saying that I've got so much baggage that I cannot carry with me. When I'm going to Vaheguru, I cannot carry it with me. Guruji is just giving us an example here that I've got so much money that I just can't carry it with me. And what is that? Guruji says, "Main Ram Naam Tan Ladya Bik Ladi Sansar." Guruji says, I've collected Naam. I've collected the ton of Naam, and everyone has collected Bik, means poison. Running after attachments and desires, Guruji says it's poison. But these are worldly attachments and desires. But we don't have time to cover everything in this course, obviously. But then we go and unravel what desires and attachments should we have. There's some attachments and desires which we could keep, which can help us meet Vaheguru and see Vaheguru in this life form. So that's all I want to cover. We normally spend about a couple of minutes. I think we do have a couple of minutes if you want. So what we do is that we then get everyone to do a bit of maths. I'm not sure who's on the call, so I'm not sure about the age range, but what we normally do is that we get everyone to say that, okay, let's say you have 10 years in your life, and every hour that you spend doing something is equivalent to 2 years, and every 2 hours you spend doing something a day is equal to 4 years of your total life which is left. Break down your 24 hours a day and see how much life have you already wasted. And what we normally see is that people put in what's it called? So let me just check. Yeah, we say 50 years. So we say, let's say you got 50 years of your life left, then every hour that you spend doing something a day is equal to 2 years of your 50 years of life left. So if I'm spending 8 hours a day at work, that's 60 years of my life gone. The remaining life that I have is gone. So what we have seen is that actually people spend more time, and I'm sorry I'm using it, but people spend more time in obviously on the social media, on the phones, and even like in like all the activities which are trivial in the should be trivial, and they spend so much time doing that, and when you compare that to the time that they may spend in satsangat, it is next to nothing. I don't know whether how many people spend an hour a day. Even if they spend an hour a day in satsangat or dedicate that to Sikhi, that is just 2 hours of your remaining life left. So think this way: if you have 50 years left, you spend 1 hour doing your Nityanam. Your Nityanam is only about 4% of your life left. So you're only dedicating 4% of your life. But it shows that how much time we can spend, how much time we spend on our attachments and desires, but how much time are we dedicating to Sikhi. But a lot of this can be turned into worthwhile time spent. So for example, if you're 8 hours at work, some jobs are in a way that you can actually, it allows you to do Simran at that time. But then Guruji is giving us techniques that even though you're talking, you can do Simran in your chit, which we cover in the course later on. But that's all I wanted to cover in this. So just overview, what we said is that there's 10 doors, there's human senses, and the human senses of a body have got 5 weaknesses, which are Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, and Hankar. And they control our mind. and our mind is very supreme. And what's happening in this is that our life is getting wasted. And if we can turn this round, if we can understand our mind, if we can change our weaknesses into good qualities, our strengths, then our human senses will get realigned. Our human senses, our doors, would get realigned, and help us not waste this life and then make it into a fruitful life. So as Bhai Singh said, leave 15-20 minutes for questions. So I'm gonna stop here, and I hope this was helpful. Actually, sorry, just last one. So this is the first enlightenment out of the 8 enlightenments in the course. So when we say enlightenment, it's just about knowing something or realizing something that you may not have known before coming to the course. So that's what we mean by enlightenment. So the summary of this first section is that the purpose of this life is much higher than just a constant repetition of activities required for survival. Our attachments and desires just attract us to do things which are just for survival mechanism and nothing else. The combination of temporary body and eternal soul has brought us into existence. Our task in this life is to awaken our mind. Awakening our mind ourselves would ultimately merge our soul with Vaheguru. And we have very limited breaths to do this. And instead of running after our attachments and desires, we need to realign them and then work and treat every single breath as money, as like me spending money. So losing this opportunity to satisfy our momentary emotions is like exchanging diamonds for dust. So this was the very first enlightenment out of the 8 topics. So I'm going to leave the rest of the time if you may have any questions. And we got Pater same thing here as well, so you can help me out with any questions. So Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
It's okay if I speak in Punjabi language. It's like I'm more comfortable in that. Hello.
That's fine. Go ahead.
That's fine. Actually ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਸੀ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਰਾਈਟ ਉਹ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਥੋੜਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਤੇ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਬੜੇ ਉਹ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਘੱਟ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਦੱਸੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੀਗੇ ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਘੱਟ ਆ ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਉੱਥੇ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰੀਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਚਾਨਣਾ ਪਾਓਗੇ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਦਾਸ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ it's a little bit low if you can put it up but we can hear you
okay ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਸਵਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਾਡਲਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮਾਡਲਿੰਗ ਵੀ ਮਾਡਲ ਬਿਹੇਵੀਅਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਉਹ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਹਨਾ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਬਾਣਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਬਾਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਜੋ ਰਹਿਤ ਆ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਆ ਇਟਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਹਾਰਡ ਡਿਫਿਕਲਟ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੈਸਟਰਨ ਵਰਲਡ ਹੈ ਇਹਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆ ਆ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕਲੀ UK ਤਾਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਪਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਪੈ ਗਿਆ ਐਜ਼ ਵੈਲ ਵੈਸਟਰਨ ਵਰਲਡ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਮੇਨ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਲੈਕਚਰਿੰਗ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ ਔਨ ਥੀਸ ਥਿੰਗਸ ਬਟ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੱਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਜੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾਡਲਿੰਗ ਹੈਗੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਘੱਟ ਆ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਬੇਸਿਕਸ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਅਸੂਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਜੀਵਨ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਪੈਦਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਰੈਲੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਈਵਨ ਇਨ ਮੇਨ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੀ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਰਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਨੈਚੁਰਲੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਬਾਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੀ, ਐਵਰੀਥਿੰਗ। ਹੁਣ ਲਿਟਲ ਬਿਟ ਉਹ ਡਿਸਟੈਂਸ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਵਿੱਚ। ਐਂਡ ਈਵਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਹ ਕੋਰਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਬਈ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੀਅਲੀ ਬੇਸ ਲਾਈਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ। ਐਂਡ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੋਰਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਏਦਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਆ। ਬਟ ਐਬਸੋਲੂਟਲੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਵਾਪਸ ਹੋਪਫੁਲੀ ਹਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਜੀਵਨ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਣਗੇ। ਬਟ ਉਹ ਫੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਾ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਤਾਂ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਚੀਜ਼, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਲਰਨਿੰਗ ਸਿੱਖਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਚੀਜ਼ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ। ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮਤਲਬ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਥੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਾ ਛੱਡ ਦਈਏ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਧਾਰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਚਾਹੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਟੀਵੀ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਨੈਟਫਲਿਕਸ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤਾਂ ਨੈਟਫਲਿਕਸ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਏਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਨੈਟਫਲਿਕਸ ਤੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਨੈਟਫਲਿਕਸ। ਲਾਈਕ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ 12 ਘੰਟੇ ਮੈਂ ਨੈਟਫਲਿਕਸ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਟੀਵੀ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਵੀ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ।
ਇੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਹਾਂ? ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਇੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਹਾਂ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਛੋਟਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਮਿਲੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੁੜਤਾ ਪਜਾਮਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਖੰਡਾ ਲਗਾਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਸੀ ਜਨਰਲ ਸਟੋਰ ਦੀ। ਉਹ ਹਟਮ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰੂ ਜਪਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਮੈਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਿਕਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਰੋਕ ਕੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਬਣ ਗਈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਹਰ ਟਾਈਮ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ? ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, ਆਪਣੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, ਕਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁੜਤਾ ਪਜਾਮਾ ਪਾਈ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹੋ, ਚੂੜੀਦਾਰ ਪਜਾਮਾ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੁੜਤਾ, ਉੱਤੇ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਖੰਡਾ ਲਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ, ਇਹ ਕੀ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈਗਾ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੈਂਟ ਕਮੀਜ਼ ਕਿਉਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕੋਟ ਪੈਂਟ ਕਿਉਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਹੋਏ ਹੋ, ਕਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਐਕਸਾਈਟ ਹੋਏ ਹੋ? ਐਵੇਂ ਮੈਂ ਛੋਟਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੇ, ਉਹ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਰੂਹ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਐਸਾ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਣ ਪਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ 60 ਈਅਰਸ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹੀ ਬਾਣਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰੂ ਜਪਦਾ ਰਹਿਣਾ। ਮਤਲਬ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬੜੀ ਇੰਸਪੀਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਚਾਹੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਆਪਾਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਨਿਤਨੇਮ ਕਰਨ ਵੇਲੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਾਣਾ ਸਜਾਈਏ, ਆਪਣਾ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਖੰਡਾ ਲਗਾਈਏ, ਉੱਤੇ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਪਾਈਏ, ਆਪਣਾ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਿਤਨੇਮ ਕਰੀਏ। ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਮਾਂ ਬਾਪ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਬੜਾ ਅਸਰ ਪਏਗਾ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਅਸਰ ਪਏਗਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਅਨੰਤ ਤੇ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਓਕੇ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ, if you got questions, can you, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਦਿਓ, so that everyone gets a chance to ask the questions. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਮੈਂਟ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ, they're very valid, ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ important ਕਿਹਾ। ਅਫਸੋਸ ਨਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਕਿ we're living in a very complex world, ਹੈ ਨਾ। Now we've got so much screen time, so much social media. We've also got a problem ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ many people in our ਕੌਮ have gone through immigrant experience, and that has its own mental health issues, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਹੋਰ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ in my lectures, and ਉਹਦਾ ਅਸਰ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ in terms of not enough parenting to our children, not enough passing the values on from generation to generation, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਦੂਜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ also through the colonial experience, ਕਿ colonialism ਕਰਕੇ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਹਰਲੀ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਗੋਰੇ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੋਰੇ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੋਬਾਂ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣੀਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਆਹ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣੀਆਂ, and we don't really have enough ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ on our guru and to see how we're going to progress in our lives. So ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ। That's why every week ਅਸੀਂ different topic ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ। This is now I believe week 6 or week 7, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਅਤੇ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਵੀਕ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਟੌਪਿਕਸ ਹੋਣੇ। ਨੈਕਸਟ ਵੀਕ ਭਾਈ ਜਸਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਫਰਮ ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ ਐਲਬਰਟ ਮਿਊਜ਼ੀਅਮ। ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਅਗਲੀ ਵੀਕ ਭਾਈ ਬੀਬੀ ਮਨਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ ਨੇ ਬੋਲਣਾ। ਸੋ ਐਵਰੀ ਵੀਕ ਵੀਵ ਗੋਟ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਸਪੀਕਰਸ, ਐਂਡ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਸੇਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਤੇ ਭਾਈ ਰਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ will come back in following weeks as well. ਪਰ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋ ਭਾਈ ਰਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੇ ਜੋ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਚੈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਦਿਓ, ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ who is moderating please ਉਹ ਜੇ ਮੋਡਰੇਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ।
Yes, Virji. Thank you so much. In chat, we have received a question from one of our attendees. The question is, over the decades and even centuries, the span of one's life has changed. I know Gurbani refers to Sathi ke Badepa and how other ages in terms of numbers, but how these stages apply where the average life expectancy was 60 years and nowadays we see the life expectancy has increased. How does that concept applies today as well. Did you get my question, or you want me to repeat?
Yeah, the question is clear. I'm just clear. Sorry, I'm just trying to get Raman to answer it.
Can you hear
Raman,
me?
मोन धर लिया ते उठ कर.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
आवाज आਉਂਦੀ है?
Hanji, hanji.
Hanji. Yeah, I think like life expectancy is you well it's not that because now we got modern medicine or stuff like this, and suddenly our lifespan has gone longer than what it was before. I think a lot of these researchers only go back so far, like maybe 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, right? Or maybe let's say 100 years max. But I think what Guruji says to us is that Maran likhai, mandal mein aaye. You don't come to this life and then your body decides when the soul would get separated from your body. It doesn't work like that. That's where we are basing this on. But Guruji says that your death, you come to the planet with your death written. So your death, the number of breaths that you have, is already pre-written. However, there were techniques where, like for example, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੱਧ ਸੀਗੇ, where Guruji did Siddh Ghost. In that, some of the Siddhs were 500 years old, some were 400 years old. So there were techniques where they could control their breath. The death is based on breath. It's not based on the number of years that we live here. So that's what I was trying to explain, is that the number of breaths is important. It's not how many years you spend taking those breaths. So the count of the breaths that we have, there are techniques where, like for example, in the Siddh Ghosh, Guruji is saying that some of the yogis were like 500 years old. And for us, we might think, how is that possible? Now that's not because of the medicines or anything, like because they were in a beautiful climate where there was no pollution. No, it's not because of that. It's because they had a technique to control and slow down their breathing to that level that the body requires very minimum level of oxygen, you can say, and it can live for longer time. So the death and when Guruji is talking about death, it's about how many breaths you have, and as soon as we use those, that's when death comes. And if you look at Buddhist as well, Buddhist religion is about practicing these techniques where you control these attributes of a body, like parameters of a body, for example, like controlling your breath, controlling your temperature of your body, etc., etc. That's where their meditation is focused on. Sikh's meditation is focused on meeting Vaheguru and not controlling your body. So that's the two difference. And
Roman, can you hear me? Sorry, Roman. The other thing is, the body, the body can live longer. I think there was something on the news the other day. I think they've talked about oxygen and how oxygen chambers are helping people age, slower. And also, in Bhai Gurdas's Vara, it actually says that people were living a lot longer in the Pishle Jug compared to how they live now. But Gurbani, which there's few shabds about stages. When we talk about 12 बरस बालपन बीते 20 बरस किछ तपना कियो 30 बरस किछ देवना पूजा फिर पछताना बिरद पयो. That Kabirji shabd that we were talking about earlier, that Kabirji says at 62 you become bird. And the other shab is about das baltan 20 varan tisa ka sundar kahave, and then it goes up to 100, that shabd into 90s. But the bottom line is that your man is your mannu, we have to make our man aligned to Waheguru and join with Waheguru. But because the body will, even if the body lives longer, you're still a bird. 60, 70, it might be a healthy elderly person, but your body's still old, huh? So even though the things might be saying to us, our retirement ages in UK, they're making them higher and higher. 62 it's going to 68, 69, 70, but still they're still bird, huh? So
Thank you, Virji. I think this is helpful. Anyone else has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us or just
If I
message.
can just, Vijay, if I can just add to that. So I work in healthcare, Hannah, and I see everything is cyclic, and I'm also a government advisor on dementia care to the British government. And what we're seeing is that the big pharma and everything else, especially in America, because most of you sang this from America, you have a massive influence of companies into your actual healthcare systems there. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, we're more educated, we're more healthy, we're going to live longer. Actually, our food quality is a lot worse than 100 years ago. The chemicals and big pharma are massively infecting people's health. And we think they're there to improve our health. When you work in healthcare on frontline, the way I've worked for the last 15 years, you realize actually your body has an immense power to heal. And everything is getting cyclic, and people are learning more and more actually the alternative things, whether it was Bhakti. For example, even if you look at a lot of the biggest ailments in society, whether it's diabetes, cancers and everything else, just fasting actually massively helps you, improves you in your conditions. And these are very simple things that many people knew throughout all the different cultures and religions. But what it is people are now realizing actually a lot of this ego of knowledge and everything else is not really taken the human race forward. We are actually become more detached from our spiritual mind and the power of the mind. And what we've become is more caught in the world of illusion, where we basically have more distraction. And as a result, which is why we have higher levels of depression than we've ever had before. So what I believe is that Gurmat has natural cures, and natural cures are the best cures. And this is why, as a human race, too many of our young Sikhs think that Gurmat is something which is maybe a part-time option for me, or maybe something I should learn about just because I might have Singh and Kaur in my name. And I would advise them young people that actually the more you learn about Gurmat, you will realize this is essential for you to live your life in the best way humanly possible. And the more you learn about Gurmat, you'll realize how essential it is to your life and not something which is just part-time. And because we make our Gurdwaras like a part-time thing, this is why we start to make Gurmat philosophy like that. And that's why we're having these weekly calls, because I would urge as many of our youth that are on here to really start thinking about Sikhi in a lot more deeper way. And that's why we want to facilitate more of these things.
Thanks, Virji. I think we have
Raman Singhji, I believe you got a message in your chat box. Can you please check it, please?
Okay, just checking my chat box. There is one question that says, I've never understood the point of death, and how is it that we regret? The brain dies, so we can't think anyway. So why is there a suggestion of loss if we haven't done enough Simran? So I should have clarified that point. When I said regret, I didn't mean the regret after death. However, Guruji does say that you do regret after death as well, because when you go to Dharam Raya jab lekha manga, kya mukh leke jayega. Guruji saying that, Kabirji saying that when Dharam Raya is asking you for your lekha, what face are you going to show to him? And there's many in Asadi Warad as well. Guruji says that you're going to regret, कि तू पछताना है फिर राम सिमर पछताएगा मन पापी जीड़ा लोभ करत है आज काल उठ जाएगा. Guruji says that you're going to regret at the end of it. But those 10 stages where I showed, that was saying regret. It comes in the Shabad as well. But what we are saying there is that when the person grows old, if you research a bit, I looked into this, and just search in Google as well, you're going to find it. Top 5 things or top 10 things that you regret when you're on the deathbed. People regret when they're on the deathbed, and what were the things that they said that they regret. And if you look at that, is all the things that Guruji is explaining in those 10 stages that you're wasting a life doing. Lust, work, going to just paying off a mortgage, or just wasting a life paying mortgage, just spending all that time doing things which are just required for survival mechanism. And those are the top 5 or 10 things you're going to find. And if you go back to the slide which I'd shown, you can relate to that they would fit in one of those categories. Now, obviously, the Gore may not know about Simran and meditation, because one might waste their life not knowing that Simran is the way to meet Waheguru, or doing meditation is a way to meet Waheguru. So they would not say that, okay, I regret not doing Simran, but they regret doing all the things that Guruji is saying don't do in the first 9 stages of life. So that's what I meant, is that the regret in the last stage. So hope that's clarified it.
Yes, this is helpful. I think we have one Sangat who wants to ask question. Please, I would like to assess Singh to go ahead.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਮੈਂ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸਿੰਘ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਲੰਡਨ ਤੋਂ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 2 ਗੱਲਾਂ ਆ। ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਸਦਾ ਲਈ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ। ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਏਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੇ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੁੱਕ ਜਾਵੇ। ਇੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਲਾਈਫ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਹਿਊਮਨ ਬੋਡੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਦਾ ਹੀ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਿਊਮੈਨਿਟੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਹੁਣ ਸਿਰਫ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ 10 ਜਾਂ 5 ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਨ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਵੀ ਬੀਨ ਇਨ ਦਿਸ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸ ਫॉर ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਲੌਂਗ ਟਾਈਮ, ਹਨਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਆ। ਦ ਲਾਈਫ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਬੋਡੀ ਵਾਸ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟਡ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਫੋਰਐਵਰ। ਐਂਡ ਦ ਸੈਕੰਡ ਥਿੰਗ ਇਜ਼, ਅਸੀਂ ਆ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਸਰੀਰ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ। This is not what our purpose is. Our purpose is not to join with this body, because this body is just a tool, a vessel for us to be able to do bhakti. So we're supposed to serve this body, treat it with respect, and obviously in Gurmat terms, in Gurmat terms, adhere to all the rahat, so that this Sarir is able to do more bhakti, and through this bhakti and Simran, we can be able to meet a Kalpruk within us. That's all I have to say for now. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Thanks everyone. I think we are just on the time, and again, thank you very much everyone, and to our guest speakers who have delivered so much.
Waheguru ji Veer ji. So just to announce that next week, what we have is we're going to have Bhai Jaspreet Singh, who's the curator of Victoria and Albert Museum. So he's very knowledgeable on Sikh and also Sikh history. And so those of you who don't know about Victoria and Albert Museum, it's one of the most historic museums in London, where a lot of the loot from the British Raj is kept, and including Maharaja Ranjit Singh's throne, the Teer of Guru Gobind Singh, and many other artifacts. So next week, what he's going to be talking about is the Janam Sakhiyan and Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so that we have an understanding of what them Janam Sakhiyan are and how it relates to Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Bani. The week after, we're going to have Penji Mandeep Kaur speaking. So, benti to everybody that's on this call, you can go back through Treasures of Sikhi, which is what the youth of America wanted to call these programs, and you can have a look at their YouTube channel, and you can see the previous workshops that we've done over the last few weeks. And Abenti, because the reason we set this up is that we've realized that the youth in America are a lot behind in terms of their confidence compared to other youth around the world. And there's also a lot of talent in America, but it just needs a catalyst. So what we want to do, if you can tell all your friends and relatives that we're doing this every Sunday, so that many more people can be aware and they can start linking in. So this is all about sharing good practice, sharing Gurbani, sharing Sikh wisdom, and sharing about how to improve our family structures and our relationship with Gurbani and our Guru. So tell others all about it. Join this program. It's going to be weekly and it's going to keep going on. And every week we're going to have a different speaker. Waਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
Waheguru, we actually have maybe 1 or 2 more questions if it's possible. One question is, how is it possible to jap Nam 24 hours?
But the same thing, do you want to touch upon this?
Waheguru, that's difficult to call na. 24 hours simrana. So by answering it doesn't mean I can do it. But Jira Gurbani is saying to us that we have a body, and Raman Singh talked about 5 elements. Na? When we read, like we read Anand Sahib, Guru Sahib says, Kahe Nanak so tat pai, jisnu andin har liv lage, jagat rehnu hani. So when the 24-hour Simran is a blessing. It's a blessing from Waheguru. When Waheguru gives you a dot, that thing becomes prakash inside. So like there's many shabds. Kabir Allah ki kar bandagi, jai simrat dukh jaye, dil mein sai pragate, bujhe balanti nae. Oh, bujhta nahi hai. That thing, you can't switch it off then. So it's not something that we just say, okay, I could do Simran for about 2 hours or 3 hours or 10 hours myself, and then all of a sudden I'll make that Simran carry on. What we're doing is we're trying to remove our ego. When the home Maridandi and Waheguru blesses our seva, what we call Gur Prasad, then we get some blessing from God. That's the thing that keeps you connected to God day and night, and it's not something that we can manufacture ourselves.
And just to add to that, but essentially, do you want to just add the chit thing to explain one or two examples?
Anji, so part of our course, what we do is there's a section about staying connected, and inside of that, Gurbani tells us there's our chit element. So just to expand on it very, very briefly, we have an emotional part of our chit. Jida Guru Sahib says, "Bhai, jinke chit kathor hai se behna Satgur paas, uthe sach vartada." Kudeyara chit udas. One of the chit udas ho jande when they manmukh, when they hear such. So the chit has got an emotional side, but the chit has got chitte as well. Chit simran karo nayan avalokano. So the chit can do simran too. So it's got a memory aspect to it. So that remembrance, day and night, our mind carries on. Like we have a dream, we have various things. So the chit aspect of it, Sadguru de charana vich lag jave. So firstly, it goes into Guru's charan, and it can remember Waheguru through chit. So we're doing our work, but chit Waheguru de charana lakhya. That chit, when it gets more and more stronger, so like we say, swasana, simran karna, o chit nu, it's only when chit on its own only works, I suppose, the best way to explain it is when we talked about virtues, inside of the body, we've also got gun as well. We've got lots of gun. And the main gun we're trying to get to is pyar. When pyar becomes pargat inside, it becomes illuminated, let's say, we're able to connect with pyar, love. That's when the chit starts switching on. So otherwise, we're just our chit is caught up in many things. So even Guruji, like sometimes we call all, if we say Har Har or Waheguru, we call it Naam all the time. But sometimes Gurbani doesn't call it Naam. So for instance, I'll go back to Anand Sahib again, where Guru Sahib says, Har Har Nit Kare Rasana, Kaya Kashuna Jani, Chit Jin Ka Hir Laya Maya, Bolan Pairavani. So Guruji says a person might be saying Har Har from up the top, from high up, but their chit is really stuck in Maya. They're thinking about something else. So Guru says that's Bolan Pairavani. That means doing a very surface level. And then Guru doesn't really accept it. So when the chit starts doing it properly, your man does it. Jini naam te aaya, ek man ek chit, the Guru says. And Guru Sahib says, rasna to sare japde, but hirde to koi virlai japda. So when it becomes very deep and that becomes part of you, then it becomes more and more stronger. Then eventually, what Guru saying, there's a anahad or anhad, or the cheej is without any ajapa jap. All that means is that you don't have to put any effort in, and it starts by itself, and Guru blesses it. So it can stay longer, but then the chit is connected to God. Then it stays connected.
And some of the examples of chit is, if time permits, sorry, I'll be very quick, is in that shabad, Mana Ram Nama Bediyale, Jaise Kanakala Chit Mandiyale. In that Guruji's, Namdevji gives examples of how you can use a chit. Namdevji says that, for example, like if you must have seen in India, they fly kite, right? Let's say the kid who's flying the kite, even though he is flying the kite, he's doing a very complex exercise of flying that kite, where you have to ensure that how much you pull the string and when you let go the string, all of that. But at the same time, he's also talking to his friend. But even though he's talking to his friend next to him, his chit is in the kite, the string which is in his hand. Same way when a mother has, even though she's doing work in the house, if a son is playing outside, a daughter, a kid is playing outside, her mind or her chit is always in that in her kid, Hannah. It's always thinking about, okay, is he there, what is he doing, even though she's doing all the housework. Same way like goldsmith, if a goldsmith, there's different examples, analogies that Guruji's Namdev Ji is giving here to us. And like a goldsmith, when even though he's making his ornaments, but when a customer comes, he's asking him questions about, okay, what is the price of this, what is the price of that, but at the same time he's talking to them, but at the same time he doesn't stop his work with his hands. He's still doing that, but he's doing, so there's multitasking capability that you can say that you can possess by making use of chit element within your human mind, which we don't use it often, or we use it subconsciously, but for other things. So if we want to go and understand that Shabad, you can have a look at that. It says Manaram Nama Bhediyale.
Thank you, Virji. This is helpful. Just a quick question. Do we have this course available online? You know, I see a lot of questions coming up. You know, Sangat is asking.
Yeah, no, we actually haven't put it online because we haven't ever recorded the full 8-hour course, because we weren't sure like people would want to sit in front of a computer screen for 8 hours without falling asleep. But Pastor, do you want to do, how can we do it? We can send the slides if you want, but it's
No,
difficult.
what we want to do, Vidyu, is just like I came to New York and did the Sikh parenting course, and you guys facilitated it. After lockdown, when everything's over with, then what we can do is, if you have enough Sangat demand in your area where you can facilitate it, then you can then liaise with Bhai Tarsim Singh and Bhai Raman Singh. So just like we're going to be doing in 2021, we're going to be doing at least 7 or 8 Sikh parenting courses in USA. Similarly, what we want to do is, after we've done the Sikh parenting course, is like a month later to do the Sikh spirituality course if we can facilitate it.
So what we've done, the other thing we've done is there's a book we're just about to release. It's Why Am I Here? And that is the Guru and the Path of the Soul. So we're releasing that. That's effectively covers a lot of the things that we try to cover in the Enlightenment course. The other thing we're doing is
posted it in the chat, by the way.
Sorry?
I posted the book cover in the chat.
Okay, yeah. And the other thing was
the book cover in.
Okay, yeah, thanks. The other one is the Anand Karaj. We're doing something on it as a Sikh marriage handbook, which is just about to complete in terms of verifying. Really, we're at that stage on that one. So that one's really important as well, because there's a lot of spirituality that we haven't understood about the Anand Karaj, and then the lack of our skills around, those virtues, if you like. And when we say Paravirti Karam and things like that, the lack of our development of the right kind of skills is the thing that actually leads to problems in marriage. And so when we go to do Amrit, going to do Anand Karaj, it should be exactly the same. It's like you're getting Upadesh from the Guru there. So we're also covering that too. That will be part of when we come around and continue with the Enlightenment course. We will be doing that workshop along with it too.
Awesome. And we look forward to this book and this sessions in coming weeks. And last question, and before we end this session, is maybe you can answer quickly. What is the difference between Chit and Surti?
Okay. When we do, Guruji says, when we do Man te Chit together, like we say, Jini Naam te Aya, Ik Man Ik Chit, what the focus ban janda, that becomes a focus. That means everything is come together. Surti is like, it's a focus. It's when everything's focused together. So the reason why when we talked about Chit was that Chit still allows you, when you use your Chit, you still allows your man to carry on, to do something slightly different. So you can actually do 2 things at once. The Chit can still be connected to something. It's a bit like, I mean, the best example I could give you is like if today I said, you know, when you go home, someone's going to have taken all your possessions. You're going to be sitting here. You might even be talking. You might be saying everything, but inside you got a dole that feeling inside. Oh, chit dol gaya. So that chit is still doing something, but you're still letting your mind carry on. Surti jari hai is man and chit. So if you listen to the ton of Waheguru, for instance, together with Jini Naam Dya Ek Man Ek Chit, then oh surti oh, that's the focus of everything. That's not letting you do two things. That's the focus. That's my basic understanding of it. Main koi aisi gyani nahi hage. We just like everybody else, and we just trying to do a bit of Khoj of Gurbani and things like that.
Thank you, Vijay. I think we can easily resonate what you mentioned. This is helpful. Yep, I think that's it. We have answered all the questions and what Sangat asked. And I would again thanks everyone, and we look forward to connecting with all of you next week. And please, last thing, and please follow us on the social media. With the, you can just search for Traders of Sikhi, and Twitter just Trayer_Sikhi. And if you have any questions, if you want to, get the emails, please email us at trayersofsikhi@gmail.com. Now, we have already messaged this email in the chat box. Again, thank you everyone. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ ਜੀਓ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ